We are going to use beans and seeds to make a crop picture. The supplies that you'll need are a piece of foam core board. We're also going to use some brush paints, and you can use any variety of dried beans or dried seeds. I've got peas and lima beans that I'm going to use. And for our basic supplies, we need a glue, an X-Acto knife, a pencil, and a ruler. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I very carefully measured out my base for my design to 12 by 12 inches, and then I used an X-Acto knife to carefully cut it. We do want parental supervision for this part for younger viewers. Okay, so after you've cut out the size, and you can do this in any size, we're going to go ahead and take our pencil and a ruler, and we're going to draw our crop design pattern. Now, if you look overhead from above in a plane down at crops, they kind of make up these great big squares. And so I'm going to do a variety of squares just by sectioning off my board into different shapes. And you can do anything that you want here, but a little bit of variety makes it a lot more fun. So I'm going to try to stagger my lines and make them different sizes and in different spots so that the lines don't match up exactly. Once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start painting. Now, this first base coat of paint, most of it's going to be hidden by your beans and your seeds after you put everything together. But you do want to have a pretty good coat down anyways, because some of it will peek through. So you're going to start with your lightest colors first and put a nice coat of paint on. Now, a crop, if you look down from above it, can be any shade under the sun, because if a farmer is growing flowers, you can have blues and pinks and purples, or if it's fall, you're going to have yellows and oranges, and of course all the different varieties of green. So I've chosen yellows and browns and red for my picture. Now you can see I kind of went over my line here a little bit, but because I started with my lighter colors first, that's going to be okay. So I'm going to do another yellow one up here. You want to be a little bit careful of those lines if you can, and especially as you come in with your dark colors. You don't really have to let this dry between coats either, because we can just keep on going from one color to the next. So there's my second set. And as you can see, this can be a little bit of a messy project, so you're going to want to make sure that you're working on a protected surface as well. And let's do some orange up here. This is so easy with the brush having the paint right attached to it. It's an easy cleanup. I can just screw the lids back on and use the pens again later if I want to. So nice clean strokes. And that does that one. And then maybe some more. Oh, actually I'm going to save one for brown and one for red now. Let's do a great big brown area here. So I'm going to set this aside after you're done painting. I'm just going to move on and show you our next step. And let that dry thoroughly, because the next step you're going to want to put glue on top of it, and you're going to want the glue to stick really strong to it. So a nice dry surface you can see I have here now, and we're going to start with our bean design. I'm going to do the brown area first, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill this entire area with glue. And you want to use quite a lot of glue here because the beans are heavy and you want them to stick down. You can see I'm really putting it on thick. I'm going to start with this top half of the brown area. And I'm going to do lima beans first. You can also see that I'm using a clear glue, so all of the spots that are going to shine through from underneath the beans are going to be see-through because the glue will dry clear. So now, again, if you look from up in a plane down at a crop, often the crops are done in rows. Different farmers do it different ways, and I think it also depends on the crops. So it'd be really fun to research the crops in your areas and see how the farmers grow them. You could even try to match the colors to what's local in your area. So I'm going to do rows of beans for this crop, and then I think, let's just finish this little top area off. And you want to fill it up, and you want to keep each type of bean kind of separate from the others, and that will make your crops look different, because usually they don't do two crops side by side. Okay, so you would finish filling this one with lima beans, and then we could go over here and do the peas. So there's a couple different ways that you can do this with a smaller seed. For instance, I can fill this all in again, and then I can just take a great big handful of these little peas and sprinkle them into place. And I'm going to get kind of a random look and fill it all up. Oh, we don't want that one over there. And then as you're doing the edges, if you put it on the dry edge where there's no glue, it'll just roll right over, and you can tuck it up so that you get a nice crisp line. pat those ones down. So you can see how it'd be very easy to fill this space with the little tiny peas. But if you want to get a little bit more fancy, you can also do it in little rows. So if you wanted to do a row, you could go ahead and put just one line like this. And again, take a little handful and then sprinkle them down so that they kind of line up two at a time together, because a lot of the crops are done in little rows. I think that there's also some fields that are planted in circles, or when the farmers mow the crops, it looks like a circle. So you would go ahead, keep filling in your design till you get a look that you like. Let's go ahead and have a look at this one. And you can see, I've done some with the rows. Oh, I'm going to take that piece off. This one I just laid everything down, as well as this one. These beans I went vertical, and these ones I went horizontal. So you can do any variety. Once all your beans are in place, then you're going to go back with your paintbrush and paint over top of them. So you'll just dab down. Again, this is very nice because the paint is right in the brush, and you can just dab right down in. You can squeeze out a little bit extra. And one last little tip is make sure that you paint the sides all along here. You can even lift up and paint the foam core all along the edges. Let's look at our final design. From overhead, this would look exactly like a field of crops.